We can bring the meeting to order. It's 6 o'clock. So I'll make an announcement that this meeting is being taped by Area 58. If you'd all join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I think our first thing we'll do tonight on the agenda will be with the county commissioners. Mr. Valenzola is here, and he has something he wants to tell us, and I know the water department's interested in this.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Jared Valenzola, and I am a Plymouth County Commissioner, Chairman of the Board. It is a pleasure to be here in Halifax, and I want to just quickly send the regards of my colleagues, Commissioner Sandra Wright, Commissioner Greg Hanley. They do send their regrets they can't be here this evening, as does Treasurer Tom O'Brien. We are here to present the town of Halifax, or I am here to present the town of Halifax with an ARPA grant check totaling $600,000 for your 2 water treatment plants. Just by way of a little bit of history, in 2020, and I know we've talked about this before, but not at an open meeting, the federal government awarded the County of Plymouth with some CARES Act money, about $90 million. And there was a handful of communities that believed we shouldn't have administered that program. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts absolutely did not think we should have administered that program. In the final analysis of the CARES Act, the town of Halifax and every other town in Plymouth County received 50% more dollars than towns outside of Plymouth County. We distributed, of the $90 million, $87 million to our member communities. The remaining $3 million went to the nonprofit hospitals that are in the county, Brockton, Plymouth, and Wareham. That is $44 million more dollars in like-sized communities outside of Plymouth County received. So Halifax received 50% more dollars through that CARES program. We were really proud of that program, and we weren't able to do it without the success and partnership with the town of Halifax. We have pivoted to ARPA now. ARPA is a little more forward-facing, a little more future projecting, right? We're looking into what some of our systems that had some exposures during COVID, how can we address those? How can we be in a better position to tackle future pandemics? And I know, speaking on behalf of the treasurer and his team, as well as my team in the commissioner's office, working with Cody, working with Sandra, working with the entire leadership here in the town of Halifax has been fantastic. I did want to point out Susan Moran from Representative Cutler's office is here, and I know Representative Lenatra and Senator Brady send their regrets they can't join, as well as Congressman Keating. We value the partnership that we have with the legislative delegation. They are strongly advocating for Halifax to make sure that these funds are coming in a judicious manner. The last point I'll make on ARPA, we currently are administering this program at approximately 1%. So we administered the CARES Act for 1%, and that received national recognition. It was actually 0.87%, and that meant more money for Halifax during the CARES Act administration. We received recognition from the U.S. Department of the Treasury, as well as the United States Congress, as one of the most effective and efficient administrations of the CARES Act in the entire country. We're currently on track to administer ARPA at 1%. Just to give context, the national average is 7 to 10% to administer this program. It's an onerous program. Cody, I'm sure, is aware, as is everyone that was a part of this grant. There's a lot of paperwork, there's a lot of reporting, there's a lot of compliance that goes into distributing these federal funds. And we do that because we want to make sure when we cut this check, and I've already given the real check to Cody, so don't worry, the money is in Halifax hands. The big check is for picture purposes only. But when we do that, we want to make sure that when we give you that check, it's done and dusted. When the state administered CARES, they would give communities the check. They'd also give them the compliance, and then they'd say, okay, figure it out. And then the state would then do their due diligence and realize several months later that they had given communities funds inadvertently and asked for that money back. So imagine that. Imagine if I'm bringing you $600,000 tonight, and then 9 months from now I go, sorry, we made a mistake, we need that money back. That didn't happen with CARES. It has not happened with ARPA, and it won't, because we have a robust team in place at the county to make sure that that doesn't happen. So we're really proud of this program. I'm happy to be here in Halifax. I know, like I said, this is probably one of the first select board meetings I've come to in this community, so I'm happy to take any questions or comments that you folks may have, if appropriate.
Comments or questions?
No, I just want to thank Plymouth County for doing a great job.
Thank you.
As you said, you're the shining star in this area and in the country, so it's nice to have you guys got our back, so appreciate it.
I know one of our water commissioners and the water superintendent are right there next to you, and I'm sure they'd love to see that big old check.
Absolutely. Yeah, one of the things we're really proud of is, I live in Rockland. I was telling you, Mr. Chairman, I grew up in Rockland. I went to Sacred Heart in Kingston. I traveled Route 58 every day for 5 years. We're local, we live in this county. We are at your service, we're at your disposal, and we pride ourselves on that. The state does a wonderful job in so many ways and on so many programs, but it's a big state. It's 351 communities. Locally, on a regional basis, we're 26 in the city of Brockton. So, we're really proud to have that partnership and be able to be local and be a resource for your community.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, well, we have the big check. I'm not sure how we want to do it.
John is a giant wallet, so.
Yeah. There's some, Right, I love this. I was just saying this, but I love the Christmas decorations. Why we put those in the background?
Mr. Clark, who is our water commissioner.
It's not Thanksgiving yet. We're all skinnier. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, you can take this one. It's not going to get you very far. There are some Easter eggs on here. This is the date that the buildings were ended, 12/21/1620. 5/21/202 is the population of Plymouth County when this was printed. And then 1685 is when Plymouth County was founded.
All right, who came up with that?
That I would love to take credit for, but if Treasurer O'Brien watches the playback, he will absolutely scold me. It was Treasurer O'Brien. This was all the treasurer.
In 1492.
So that was the year the county was formed, when they merged Mass Bay Colony and Plymouth Colony. That was in 1685, so county commissioners were formed back then, the state legislature was formed back then. So, a lot of nice history. I'll take it home, because you know what, we were smart, it's dry ice. It said Brockton last night. Yeah, the real check is with.
Couple of zeros, too.
Real check is with Cody, so. We'll check that. All right, my pleasure, thank you. Thank you. Good to see you again. Thank you. You bet. Absolutely. Yep.
I don't have time to go home. It's the only reason I didn't. I wasn't rushing off. Of course. I was like, we'll do this on the Saturday. So yeah. Yeah, I was like, God damn.
All right, the next thing on our agenda is a 6 o'clock appointment with the Finance Committee. We're only a few minutes late, so I apologize for that, but, so I guess what we need to do, this is a meeting of the Wage and Personnel Committee, really, so how did we do that last time?
Welcome to
So
the
what you
wage
do is just have finance open their meeting. And just the two of you.
Oh, but on this
All right,
side?
so if you want to open up your meeting?
Sure, yeah. Call the Halifax Finance Committee meeting to order for a joint session with the Board of Selectmen to discuss wage and personnel.
All right, great. And Cody is going to try to explain to us the wage and personnel bylaw changes. I will say it has been the subject of a very intense study. I think we started this in the spring.
February.
Before last town meeting, actually. And it's just finally getting to a point, and it's an inch thick, so we'll need a summary.
Okay.
Mr. Haddad, you have the floor.
Thank you. Is everyone able to see the screen okay? So I previously had sent to you the results of the compensation and classification study. I recognize that you didn't have the most time to review it. It's also a very thorough report. I went through, and I have a brief presentation to go over some of the results, and then I'll just open it up to questions based on the findings. So when we started this back in end of January, early February, really the goal that was explained to me from the Wage and Personnel Finance Committee Board of Selectmen was we need to evaluate the positions, create internal and external equity. So we contracted with GovHR to move forward with this study. They evaluated each position through a job evaluation questionnaire that all of our non-union employees filled out. There were several different factors and criteria, 9 of them that were reviewed. The individual questionnaires were then sent to managers, where managers reviewed them, provided any sort of comments, feedback if they disagreed in certain areas. And then they all came through my office, and I reviewed them. Anywhere where I thought maybe there was a discrepancy, I reached back out to the manager and asked them to discuss it with the employee. And then they sent me back either a revised version, or they felt that it was confident and reflected the current capacity of the position. Then GovHR moved forward and had interviews with at least one person from each position to evaluate the questionnaire and get more detail if there were anywhere. You know, they've done this for hundreds of Massachusetts communities and thousands of communities in the country. So certain positions, if things stuck out to them as maybe not accurate, they would question this and update these questionnaires as needed based on their feedback and the evaluation. That was all reviewed by the consultant, and that's how they put together the internal equity part of this. Then there's the external competitiveness. So they looked at identifying our comparable communities. They used criteria such as population, proximity in miles, budget, tax levy, and probably about 5 or 6 other criteria identifying what our comparable communities are. They gave each community a scoring, and then the top 17 communities in scoring were analyzed. We sent out a salary data survey to all of those communities, and we were able to get back data from 14 of 17 communities, which is actually very good results. So the proposed plan, the goal of the study was recommend a compensation and classification plan that has internal and external equity and competitiveness. We developed this using the 70th percentile, which I will get back to, the salary ranges in that salary survey data. The resulting plan consists of 15 pay grades, although for this purpose we're really only looking at 12. 1 is obviously the lowest, and then the highest is 15. And they're broken down to 4 different categories. So grades 1 through 3 are your administrative and technical staff. Grades 4 through 8 are supervisors and advanced technical staff. 9 through 12 are directors and senior managers, and that's really where the wage and personnel bylaw cuts off. But we did go forward and looked at grades 13 through 15, which would be the town administrator and public safety. When you see the proposed ranges, you'll see that there's a 5% gradation between grades 1 through 3, 10% between 4 through 8, and 9 through 12, and then a 7.5% between 13 and 15. And then all grades have a 35% range spread from step 1 to top step. So minimum to maximum is 35%. And that creates consistency. If you look at the existing compensation plan, I've actually tried to figure it out what the goal was, and I'm not able to. It ranges. Some range and have 16%, some have 24%, where this you have consistency throughout. Minimum, 35% is your maximum. So the results, you have them there in front of you. So you'll see there's 15 grades here, but for this purpose, we're really only looking at grades 1 through 12. When they came back, nothing stuck out. Everything looked pretty where it should be. They also recommended a few title changes. So this is also something we'd look to include in the bylaw. And a couple of those, the term secretary, it's really just not a term that's used often anymore. So they recommended changing that to office assistant. Administrative assistant for the individual departments. What we'd like to do is just create an administrative assistant position. And the idea of that being you have this position in town who can provide support. They'll be stationed to a particular department, but if needed, we can pull them to provide support in other departments as well. And then you have the executive assistant position, which right now it's made up of 3 different positions: the assistant to the fire chief, assistant to the police chief, and then assistant to the Board of Selectmen. They recommended just making all of those executive assistant across the board. This sheet here, you also have this one. This shows you the proposed salary ranges. So you'll see on the most left side, you have the name of the position, and then you have a scoring. So this is that scoring that the consultant utilized in evaluating the internal equity of each position. So when I spoke about that job questionnaire that they went through, each category had a score related to it. And then that's how they came up with the scoring of each of these positions. And that's how they're established into grades here today. And then you'll see the grade number. And then in the middle, you see the existing salary range. And then on the far right, you have the proposed salary range. This is just without the positions in it, but this is just the grades. It gives you the minimum, the maximum for each. So 35%, it's obviously a lot higher than it was before for that range, from the minimum to the maximum. So when we look at it, we have to identify how can we financially bring this forward to the town in a way that it's equitable for our employees, but also in a way that we can financially afford it in the town. Because 35%, there's a lot more growth than there was with the 20% approximately that there was before. When I spoke about the 70th percentile, so you'll see at the top, 70th percentile, the proposed pay ranges. When I looked at it with GovHR, they basically provided us with the 60th percentile and the 70th percentile salary data. You really don't want to go to the 50th because now you're back to where you are, underpaying just a little bit. So you look at to be that 60th to 70th percentile. Part of it that I'm not going to get too much into is the benefits analysis. That was also part of this study. And what it showed is, I think much of what we knew. The average health insurance contribution in other communities in the data was 69%, and we contribute 50%. So we look at our options, and in speaking with GovHR, said, financially, when we run the figures, it's nearly impossible for us to increase our contribution to a level where it would make really would make a difference in the employees' paychecks. So then we said, well, it probably makes more sense to go a little bit higher on the percentile range for the compensation. And that right there, you're also touching all the employees and not just the ones that get health insurance. So, but the difference here is about $1,000 per grade. So if we were to go with the 60th percentile, it's about $1,000 less minimum and maximum. So it's not significant, and I certainly think it'll make us more competitive in attracting employees and also retaining our qualified staff. So now GovHR provided us with the minimum and maximums, but it's up to us to basically implement this. So also what you have is a proposed compensation schedule. Previously, the town had worked off of 6 steps. My proposition would be to expand that to 12 steps. And the reason for that being is that 35% from the minimum to maximum, it gives us more time to implement a study like this. It also gives our employees a lot more growth opportunity. So many of our employees that had been maxed out, when I went through and did an analysis, the employee with the highest step would be step 7. So there's still a lot of growth for all of our employees, which is a great benefit. When we looked at costing this out, 10 steps really was financially a little bit of a burden, and so 12 was kind of that number where we were able to project long-term over the next few years and be financially feasible, and also be fair to the employee. So the implementation, so this is what I would propose as the implementation. You would take the salary of the employees from July 1st, and then you would put them in the new system and place them on the next closest step with their existing salary. And I have an example here to make things a little bit easier. But and then if you're below step 1, we would automatically bump you up to step 1. So the idea is everybody's at least at the minimum, so we're in the range of the compensation study. After placing everyone on the steps, we would look, and if their increase from their salary on July 1st to where we place them is less than 2%, I would propose that we'd bump them up to the next higher step So at least everybody is guaranteed a 2% raise. It's in line, we gave our unions 3% this year, so a 2% increase for our non-union employees at minimum is fair. There is the expectation that the employees that were paid the lowest will receive the largest increases, and the employees that were right in the line will receive the smaller ones, but everyone's guaranteed a 2% increase. All employees hired prior to July 1st would now have their step increase on July 1st of each year after a performance evaluation with an above average rating. That already exists, the performance evaluation. So the only change would be basically if you're here before July 1st, your anniversary date for your step increase would be July 1st. It makes things a lot easier with us too. And then figuring out retro, we're able to bump it back to the July 1st mark. And then anyone hired after July 1st would just have their step increase on the anniversary date. So an example, so if you had an executive assistant who on July 1st had an hourly rate of $25.17, an executive assistant is now a grade 5 on the plan, so they would move to step 4, which is that closest step at $25.57. Afterwards, you look and see, well, this is only a 1.59% increase, so then we would bump them up to step 5, which is that $26.28. So that's an example of one of those. Then if you look at a library associate who has a rate of $19.21 an hour, they are a grade 4 on the proposed schedule. The range is $21.39 to $28.99. They're below that minimum, so they'd move to that $21.39, and that's at least a 2% increase, so that's where they would go. So now what's the financial impact? The financial impact for fiscal '24 would be approximately $125,000. $260,000 was allocated at the Springtown meeting for the purposes of this, and also for settling our collective bargaining agreements. There's approximately $130,000 currently unallocated for this exact purpose. The 12-step compensation plan allows for more growth with our employees, better recruitment power, and more time for the town to absorb the financial impact. And costing out of the proposals with the estimated COLAs resulted in no financial concerns for this year and next year. You've heard me say it before, when we look at our long-term financial projections, there are concerns for fiscal '26, but that was, implementing this plan would not cause any more financial concerns than we already have for fiscal '26 and further out. So with that, I know it was a lot of information, but I think the best way is based off of this and based off of the information you were given. If you have questions, I can answer them.
Anybody in the audience have any questions? No? Finance Committee?
Yeah, we have some questions, I guess. So the proposal is to implement these steps here, right? On the left-hand side here?
Correct.
So when I was looking at some of these don't, I don't know if it's just due to like some rounding and stuff, but I was looking at like some of these large increases in particular that are like over 20%. So there's one that's 28.26, which would be a grade 8.
Okay.
So it's saying the post salary will be 65,145. Here it says 65,152. So there's just a few of those that are.
There's a couple small rounding errors. This is really just an example.
Gotcha.
I put together about 10 of these to figure out what was the best financial way to do this, the best opportunity for our employees, but also the most financially feasible for the town. So I ran probably about 10 different scenarios, and I rounded, but everything's within, the bottom line's within $1,000.
Okay.
Which is why, if you notice, the number on the bottom there is a little bit lower than the number instead of that 125.
Okay, makes sense. And I guess for some of these larger ones that are in excess of 20% increases, I guess, is the thought, I guess, to make those changes, immediately, I guess, or over a period of time, get them up to the.
The goal would be to get everyone at the minimum. Financially, we can absorb it, so it makes sense to get those people at the minimum. The way to kind of look at it is we've had them here for a value over the years, if they're that, underpaid, and that if we can do it, we should get them to the minimum.
Okay. All right, fair enough. Any other questions?
Is this your final submission for the proposed schedule?
This would be, correct.
So if you could help me understand, like, the way the numbers work out. So taking your sheet and doing some calculations on it, the salaries, just using step one or level one as an example, the minimum 38,500 and the maximum 51,975 is a 35% increase, as you say it is. However, if you look at the hourly salaries and you go from step one to step 12, it's actually 35.49.
So,
And that goes all the way down.
yeah, it's basically when you get to, I tried to work with round numbers because what we don't want is, 23.8975, and it was, so over the time it builds, because nobody is at the step 12, the idea was we can implement it this year, it gives us the power, and then we can refine it. As we give cost of living adjustments, we can, fine tune the numbers to exact
So are these
numbers.
bands public consumption then? So if I'm an employee, I can get the bands of what I've got? Because then if I'm going to expect 2508 at step 12 and I don't get it because we had a rounding error at the very
Well, this,
beginning.
no, this would have to be updated and adopted annually. So this is what I'm proposing for fiscal '24. And I would much rather, what you're talking is, maybe a couple $100s. So I think it makes more sense to pay somebody a couple $100 more in the end than to work with round numbers.
And that's certainly fine. Then I'd like to see that on the paperwork, not just in theory, like.
So what
we're
would you
just
like to
gonna do
see?
that. Well, I'd like the sheet to be accurate. If, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, approving a document that is numerically inaccurate is.
Well, it's not
something I can
numerically inaccurate.
If it's being held up against the all pay bands are 35%, as page 16 says it is, then the spreadsheet does not reflect that.
Okay, I will certainly review it. If you utilize the spreadsheet and the calculations, the numbers are 35%, but the issue is you can't go to the third decimal place with a dollar.
I get that. I get that. But okay. I don't, it should be more accurate than what it is, if that's a more refined statement.
No, I just want to take your feedback and be able to adjust it as needed, so I'm just trying to understand
Yep.
what exactly the feedback is. So you wanted to say 35.49%?
So here, if you look at your salaries, it's all 35%, all straight down, the blue headers. If you go to the steps and the hourly rates, and you multiply them out to a 40-hour work week, right? So step one would be 38,580 cents, which is 80 cents, right? So big deal. But step 12 is 2508, which is 52,166.40 for a 40-hour work week, right? So what that is then, if you take that, and yeah, it's only $200, but $200 over 20 to 30 employees becomes $20,000 very quickly. So that's my concern from a budget perspective.
Okay, thank you.
Does that mean what's published in the warrant would have to be amended? If in fact, follow what Frank is talking about?
Well, we wouldn't have to amend it. We would just, I think, maybe make it clear that it's a little more than 35%,
Okay,
just for the sake of working with round numbers.
okay.
Or the other option would be to amend it, which,
I think it's just a point of clarity,
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions? Yeah, Jim.
Cody, now, this is retroactive, correct, for current active employees of the town, correct?
Non-union, wage and
Non-union.
personnel bylaw employees, yeah.
Not former employees that worked in fiscal year '23.
No,
That's just for current active employees of the town at the
Correct.
time that this is implemented, correct?
correct,
So if an employee leaves, they don't get this.
correct.
They don't get any retroactive pay.
That is correct.
Okay.
And can I give some background on this too, guys? So when I started, when I was first elected, my first time around, we had a tough problem here at Town Hall with retention and essentially filling roles. We were so grossly underpaying folks that we weren't even just getting bad applicants, we were getting nobody, like at all. And the refrain you kept hearing was, good, you're going to try to pay people that, good luck, you're not going to find anybody. And what would happen was, if we were lucky enough to get somebody, within a while, they were going to another community close by that was paying a lot more money than we were. The responsibilities of different positions had gotten out of whack. So this was one of the things that I wanted to try to help square away here at Town Hall, was bring in an independent consultant, bring in somebody that is not here in Town Hall, that has eyes on this, that can fix this. Because sure, we can brag that we're not paying folks a lot of money, but you get to a point where it's starting to affect the actual operation of Town Hall. And I believe we had gotten to that effect, where we had paid people so grossly for so long that we had come to the point where we had reached a breaking point, where the day-to-day operation of this place wasn't happening. So I was a big proponent of the study, and still am a big proponent of the study, to try to at least, and like I say, we're not going to set the bar here on anything. We're just going to try to climb back into relevance as far as pay goes in this area, in this market. And I know we all want to tighten the purse strings. Absolutely, I'm not into spending recklessly for this town. But when you get to a point where the functionality of our day-to-day operation at Town Hall is not moving forward, something has to be done. So that was the driving force behind me making this a priority for our new town administrator. This isn't something that Cody actively sought out. It was a direction that the board had given him. So I just wanted to state that for the record, and that's kind of the idea behind this.
You know, just to follow with that, when we had our joint meeting last January, I think, when we were first wage and personnel meeting, we did say that the priority was to take a look at the employee salaries. So it was something that we all talked about, and we thought as a priority. It's only taken us until now to get it done, but that's because because we've had it done in a thorough manner, so.
And again, we're not setting the bar here. I think this, again, picks us up into the ballpark, so to speak. So if we are lucky enough to get someone here that's good, we got a better shot at holding on to them and not training them for another town.
Anyone else have any questions for Cody, because he's the only one who knows the answers here, so. All right, very good.
I just have
Cody-
one other
I'm
question.
sorry, go
There
ahead.
was a whole element regarding the cleaning up, I guess, the job description as well, right? Like, what's the status of that? Is that going to be like a phase 2, I guess?
It will be. When I initially met with GovHR, they stated they could take on the job descriptions initially, but it would have, extended this process, and we wanted to get it done prior to the end of the calendar year. So once this is hopefully voted at town meeting, then we would look to re-engage with them in a separate contract to do the job descriptions. We have the grant funding to do it already, so we certainly want to move forward with that and just clean them up. And they've already made a lot of those notes. They knew that we would be going back to them for this, so they've already started the groundwork for it.
Do you think we'll have that for the spring town meeting? Or
It should be the target.
We can. Town meeting doesn't need to approve job descriptions, though. So that's
we can
just
do that internally?
yeah, we can do that internally.
Okay.
Do you need us to do anything, reference the warrant?
So I will need you guys to do something to reference the warrant. As long as there's no other questions, I think the goal would be to vote to have you adopt the compensation and classification plan as proposed. And to Jim's point, when we get to the warrant, two options. We can either move forward as it's written, and we would just, make note that it's the 35.49%, or what we can do is just make the last step a little bit of a smaller increase. My effort was to try to make it so the increase for each of the 12 steps was the same percentage, but in doing that, it bumped it off a little. So what we can do is just make the last step a little bit of a smaller increase, and just divide the
What
maximum
is-
by the hourly rate.
I defer to what Frank thinks, Jim thinks, I'm sorry, what Jim thinks.
As long as the numbers add up and we can get it funded. That's really my main concern. And I guess my main point is, and I'm sure we've all looked at the Halifax community page where there's enough going on already. And what I would rather put in front of the town, and as the finance committee, has that fiduciary responsibility. I just want it to be accurate. And if somebody gets a calculator out and starts adding numbers up, which is what I did this afternoon when I got this, they're going to be looking at the same thing we're looking at and say, what's going on? That's,
No, absolutely. It makes sense. Totally just an oversight, so I apologize.
So,
no need for an apology.
No, I want to make sure I'm presenting accurate information.
Yep.
Jim's a numbers guy.
Yeah.
That's good.
Do you, does the Wage and Personnel Committee, which is what us all are right now, have to vote to accept this?
So I think if you both voted individually as a finance committee and as a board of selectmen, that would suffice as wage and personnel.
Okay, so I will make a motion that we accept, Article 1, I guess, the way it's
So
printed?
you would just need to vote to accept the compensation and classification plan as proposed, and as long as you're okay with the implementation plan with the adjustments as discussed.
Okay, that'd be my motion.
All right, I'll second that.
Any discussion from the board?
No.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Say it's unanimous on this side.
Any discussion from the finance committee before we move on? Okay. I move then to adopt the proposed compensation and classification schedule as proposed.
Second?
Thank you, Michael. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, great, so it's now in effect. We are done with the wage and personnel discussion, right? Okay, so you guys are
Thank you,
welcome to
Cody.
stay if you like. but you
Thanks,
don't have-
Cody.
You guys are dismissed.
All right, so let's move on
Get out.
to,
To close there?
Oh, yeah. I move to adjourn the finance committee.
Second?
Thank you, Michael. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
all right, thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
We'll see you
everybody.
again in a couple of weeks, I guess. All right, so we have on our agenda, we're a little bit late, is Wendy Greco. Are you here, Wendy? Come on up. You want to come on up to the microphone there, just so we can all hear you? It's kind of a clumsy acoustics in here a little bit. So you are on our talent bank request to join the beautification committee?
Yes.
All right.
Yep.
Do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in this position? Thank you for applying, by the way.
Oh, sure. Yeah, so Halifax resident for about 18 years. Volunteered at the Halifax Elementary a few times. And I just wanted to, participate in the town, volunteer, and yeah, really. That's what I want to do. Yeah, I'm
she
not
wouldn't-
like
so
a
she
great
wouldn't run out.
public speaker or anything, so.
I noticed she was sitting between you.
Yeah,
Oh, good.
I'm not used to being, yeah,
Oh, very good.
yeah.
Board, have any comments?
No, thank you for throwing your hat in the ring, and all these boards and committees, there is some time commitment. Do you foresee any hurdles or anything with making meetings and kind of doing what you're expected to do?
No, not at all. I actually work remotely, so my schedule is pretty flexible.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So the beautification committee recommends this appointment, I guess, right?
We met last week and we approved.
All right, okay.
Awesome.
Very good. Pam, what is the term?
June 30th, 2024.
2024. All right, so I will make the motion to appoint Wendy Greco. Am I saying that right?
Greco.
Greco. Sorry.
Like Richard.
Yes.
Relation?
Yeah. I've met him, but I'm not related.
To the beautification committee for the term ending June 30th, 2024. That just means we'll have to reappoint you again in the spring.
I'll second that.
All right, any discussion?
No.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
you.
Congratulations, and
Thank
thank you
very much.
for your interest.
Thanks. We grilled you pretty good.
All right, we can go right back to the top of our agenda. So, Mr. Nezarelli, you're up.
Approval of Selectmen minutes, regular session, October 24th, 2023.
You have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
I move to affirm the approval of the following warrants and commitments. School warrant number 42 for $504,677.90. Vendor warrant number 43 for $383,686.63. School warrant number 44 for $15,102.05. Ambulance commitment from 11/6/2023 to 11/12/2023 for $59,898.86.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Move to approve the following warrant. Payroll warrant number 45 for $457,268.26. Vendor warrant number 46 for $231,056.21. Withholding warrant number 47 for $160,716.63.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. All right, next thing on our discussions is a memo from the Halifax Mobile Home Estates. I'll just read it, so we have it on the record. To the Board of Selectmen from Dorothy Lamoureux, Treasurer, Halifax Mobile Home Estates Association, Inc. Reference General Laws, Chapter 140, Section 32G, monthly fees for manufactured housing. Dear Board of Selectmen, please refer to the letter attached, letter dated August 15th, 2022, a copy of which I've attached to this. The manufactured home that was destroyed by fire has been replaced and is now occupied. Because we are now operating at 100% occupancy, the roster of homes should be returned to 430, for which we will be required to pay the fee. Please make the necessary changes to the roster of manufactured homes located here, and note that the payments that will be collected from each homeowner and paid to the town of Halifax will be increased from $5,148 to $5,160, reflecting the actual number of manufactured homes for which a fee is required. Thank you for your kind attention. Sincerely, Dorothy Lamoureux. So we have to vote to, add one more house to this?
Yeah, you can vote to accept the additional property back.
So I'll make that motion that we accept the 430 units at the mobile home park, I guess.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Okay, special town meeting, warrant, rather?
Yes, so you have a copy of the warrant. I'll go through here, and then what we'll need is a vote from the board to approve the warrant.
Okay.
So, Article 1 is to see if the town will vote to amend the wage and personnel bylaw. So this is the implementation of the new classification plan. So you'll see grades 1 through 12 are here, with the new positions with each corresponding grade.
We accepted that.
Which you just talked about, yep. And then B, the part of that is the ranges. Putting 12 steps for each of these ranges in the actual warrant would be rather cumbersome. So what we'll do is we'll have a handout with the actual steps rather than putting in the warrant. So we'll just have the minimum and maximums in here to be inserted. And then in reviewing the calculation, I think it makes sense that we probably update the hourly rates for the maximum to the point that Jim had made. Okay. So I have the amended numbers that I will just read, and then if you want to vote it as amended.
All right.
So for grade 1, the maximum would be $24.99. For grade 2, the maximum would be $26.24. For grade 3, the maximum would be $27.55. For grade 4, the maximum would be $28.88. For 5, it would be $31.77. For 6, it would be $34.95. For 7, it would be $38.44. For 8, it would be $42.29. And then the salary ones were already accurately portrayed with the 35% range.
The 9 through 12.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
And then you see in your draft, we had the unclassified here. That'll be removed. Because when I did the percentage of our veterans agent, he's actually in the range already. So we're not going to decrease his pay.
Okay.
It makes sense to just leave it where it is.
So all this whole thing, unclassified, administrative, and clerical veterans, that's all coming on?
Yeah, that'll come off. So it'll just be the grades.
Okay.
The one other thing that I should mention is when they did the study, we looked at the highway surveyor position, and Your highway surveyor has historically been your cemetery superintendent as well, paid separately. So we'll get to it in Article 2, but what I'd propose to do is leave the salary of the highway surveyor as is at this point, and then just adjust the salary of the elected official with the idea that they're usually together. So if you add the two together, it equals what they're recommending in the survey, basically. There's no great way to do it because one's elected and one's appointed in the bylaw. So if we change the elected salary in Article 2, plus the appointed salary of the cemetery superintendent, it puts that position in the range where it needs to be.
Does that set a precedent that our highway surveyor has to be the
They don't have to be, which is the reason why I am leaving it separate. But if you add the two, the goal would be.
So how do you do such, so he gets paid as the highway and gets paid as the superintendent in one check? Or does he get two separate checks?
I think it's one check.
Okay.
It just comes from two different counts. Yeah.
Okay.
And there's no, you don't have to appoint them. It's just historically that's always
No.
been appointed. So
Obviously, he's
but that
digging the hole.
so that's why we're not changing that in here either.
Okay.
In the first part.
But that's Article 2, right?
Well, but it's why we're not changing the salary of the cemetery superintendent.
Oh, I see.
So that's why it's not in here.
Okay. All right, so what he wants to do on Article 1, accept it with the...
Yeah, vote to recommend and place on the warrant.
Recommend, well, we're proposing it, so we would be recommending it, right?
Technically, I'm proposing it to this point, and I need you to vote to actually.
Okay, all right, well, the board will vote then. So I would move that we propose or recommend the Article 1 with the amendments that Cody just gave us.
Second.
Any discussion? No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Now, town meeting is going to require some presentation. I assume you'll be able to do that.
Yes, we will, absolutely.
Because I know I can't.
Mr. Seelig, I think, said he would,
No, I'm sick that day. Not feeling well.
so Article 2, all of our elected officials, in order to set their salaries, this requires a town meeting article. The salaries did not receive an increase this year other than the town clerk, but that increase was a result of the increase in hours. It wasn't a general increase. So you'll see here the three positions, our three full-time elected positions are included. So our town clerk, our treasurer collector, and our highway surveyor. For the town clerk and treasurer collector, I did exactly what I described to you in my implementation. I took their existing salary, I placed them on the 12-step program. They put them on the next highest step, guaranteeing at least a 2% increase. For the highway surveyor, it was just what I was speaking of. So I took where he should be on the range. I subtracted the cemetery superintendent's salary, and then this plus this is what he will get. And that'll put him in the range if he were appointed position, part of the wage and personnel bylaw. The goal being that all of these positions fall within the compensation schedule now.
Sure.
So what happens if, so how you just said that you added the cemetery, right? So, hypothetically speaking, what if he wasn't would that,
So his only salary would be this, the 80,000.
would it be stepped up to whatever his was, or is it,
No, it would just be this.
okay.
He essentially has two jobs.
Yeah, so basically they're, compensated separately. When we reviewed it, it was hard to analyze the individual aspects of the cemetery superintendent because he does so much overlapping. So we just took the total amount that they considered for that position and subtracted what he's getting for cemetery, and then this is that difference.
Okay.
We didn't do anything on the Springtown meeting on these three positions?
We had them on because we have to have them on, but we didn't increase their salaries except for the town clerk. The town clerk did increase, but the justification for that was historically it had been paid as a 32-hour week position, and we needed
Now it's full-time.
them here full-time, 40 hours.
So we have a motion to accept Article 2 as recommended.
So moved.
A second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. This is, actually kind of points out why we do need to start thinking about long-term governmental reorganization. And I think at some point, not tonight's night, I'd like to talk about it, but we should put on our agenda the discussion of looking into a charter commission of some sort, which would address in modern terms, in today's terms, things like DPW as opposed to a highway, water, sewer, tree warden, all these different, old-fashioned things, they really ought to be in one place, I think, so, but that's just an example of it. Okay, Article 3,
Article 3 is the amendment to the Silver Lake Regional School District Agreement. So this is what had been before you with the pre-K.
so, you want us to recommend it? We're recommending it, I guess, that's.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would move that we recommend Article 3 also.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous.
Art-
4,
Article 4 is, you basically, so in May of 2022, Article 32 appropriated 1.74 million for the renovations of the museum to become the Council on Aging. Since we are going in a new direction, we need to reallocate that funding because it was very specific in that it had to be used for the renovations of the museum. So this rescinds that article and then reappropriates the remaining portion of that 1.74 million. We'll have the exact amount at the town meeting for the purpose of funding the design, construction, and project management of the Halifax Council on Aging facility, or take any other action relative thereto. But leaving it vague, that way we can adjust as long as it's used for the Council on Aging construction.
does it have to be designated as a Council on Aging facility? Because I gather it as, that's a major part of it, but it's also a community resource, a community building.
I think because that's what it's referred to right now, that's what we've used in all of our documentation with the master development agreement in this. But when we move forward with the actual construction, we can change it to, a lot of towns are calling Center for Active Living or something, along those lines, and they're not calling it Council on Aging, so we can certainly look at that. Or
I just want to make it clear that I think, and I've thought this for a long time, and actually fought the ballot a lot, that the building that we're looking at in this project, and like the other buildings also, that there's no reason that it should be designated to one group. I mean,
Yeah, I don't think it should be either with how big it is. I mean,
Right.
they'll have their section and they'll get to use it as such whenever they need to. But if, like, say, there's a function that needs to be held, a big area, it's a big area.
It's
I get what you're
designed-
trying to say on that. That's,
Right, it's designed that way, and I just think that's better for the community, that we have that building accessible for what.
for the whole community, not just,
Exactly. Now, the Council on Aging is obviously going to have a designated office, segregated.
it's gonna have its whole locked door section.
Right.
But the pavilion of it, or what do we call it, the big,
There's like a ball.
Function room.
function
Couple
room,
small
and you can
function
split it into two.
Kitchen.
Yeah.
All kinds of things that could be used for a whole bunch of stuff, and so I just want to make it clear that me personally, I think that it is more than a Council on Aging facility. So,
No, absolutely. No, I agree. It's just how we've legally referred to it, and that's how we refer to it now. So I don't want to throw a wrench into it at this point and say the community center, and everyone says, what are you talking about?
wait a
We're not
minute.
community center.
Yeah,
So
yeah, okay, all right. So this is Article 4.
Correct.
So I'll move that we recommend Article 4.
I'll
We have a
second.
second? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. All right, 5.
I second it.
So 5, this is the article that encompasses all of the changes needed for the Thorndike Development Project. So a few different parts here. The first part is by amending the section 167.4 enumeration of districts by adding the new subsection H, which is the Senior Housing Overlay District. And so that is the majority of it. If this was the result of the planning board public hearing as well, the planning board did recommend it unanimously, and the comments that were received as they voted to amend it have been incorporated into this.
Oh, good.
Into this here. And the second part of that would be amending the zoning map by changing the parcel from the residential to the commercial district, and that parcel is basically 265 Mount Ponce Street. It goes into a little more detail on exactly where it is, but number 3 is by amending the zoning map to add the Senior Housing Overlay District to the parcel 266 Mount Ponce Street. And then the fourth aspect of it is by finding that the parcels proposed to be located within the Senior Housing Overlay District comprised of one or more eligible locations as defined by general laws. Basically, this just says that we sought an advisory opinion from the state. It's the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, which you had authorized us to do. and they found this to be a eligible location. What that means in layman's term is it does not need a 2/3 majority at town meeting, and only needs a simple majority. That was a change under the Baker administration, that if you had a project that qualified for this, they're very big on creating more housing, so they only require a simple majority, and this is an eligible location. We have the letter from the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. This is just, they like to see it on the town meeting warrant as well.
So this article, Article 5, has four
Parts.
to it. And is it all a majority vote?
It is.
And, okay. Well,
There's a lot to it. In my conversations with council, their recommendation was to make it just one article.
as opposed to 4 separate ones?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Any discussion?
No, I mean, I've read it and absorbed it as much as I can, and I feel better that our council has looked at it and kicked the tires on it, and, yeah.
Okay, I'll move that we recommend Article 5.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Okay. Article 6 is related also.
It is. Article 6 is the approval of the master development agreement. So this is the document that you've seen before. It lays out all of our requirements, and if we, follow through on those, then it lays out their requirements, which is the up to 2.6 million for the Council on Aging, the donation of the land immediately afterwards, the donation of the pickleball courts, the extended sidewalk, all of the provisions of that, that legally would lock them in to that aspect. So, and then it also just authorizes the board and myself to finalize and execute that on behalf of the town.
Okay, I will recommend, vote to, move that we recommend Article 6.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. And then Article 7 is the purchase of.
Yes, so Article 7, because technically we are purchasing the land that Thorndike is conveying to us for $10, we do need it on the warrant from the approval from the town to purchase the land. So you can see here, the combined 2 parcels are a little over, or plus or minus 2.03 acres, identified in Exhibit B of the document titled Development Agreement for the municipal purposes of constructing a senior center, Council on Aging, and any applicable amenities, and also to authorize the board to take any and all actions necessary to finalize said purchase and effectuate all necessary instruments to transfer and acquire said property. Said purchase in the amount of $10 will be paid for with funding from the operating budget or take any other action relative thereto.
$10.
$10.
But because we're purchasing property,
I can buy it. Yeah.
All right, I'll move that we recommend Article 7 also.
Second.
Excuse me, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
I don't know why we wasted this piece of paper just for the 12.
Oh, there's nothing there. This
1
page
cent.
left blank, is that what's?
That's it. That's it.
well, you know what, that had been, when we sent these to print, that had like the is it Halifax resident on it, which is one thing I'd like to know. We will not be mailing these to every single resident in town. We will be mailing a postcard that has all the town meeting information on it. We're gonna put a QR code and link on it, and then we're also gonna put on it that if anyone wants a physical copy, we'll print them out and have them at every single town building, where they can request it, and we can send them one.
I thought we had a bylaw that said we had to send.
Only for the annual,
Regular,
Oh,
not
okay.
special.
yeah, not the special.
Okay, good. All right, that's good, then save us a lot of
Save us,
postage.
yeah, save us money and paper. And
Yeah.
And we also, I think it's important, we refer to a lot of documents in here, and we're asking town meeting to approve those. I want to make sure we provide those documents to town meeting. So we'll have packets, it'll be a full packet, town meeting packet, you would say. That'll have all of those documents that are referenced in here, and that way there, they have all the information, rather than just the articles themselves.
So, there are 2 very technical parts of this warrant. One is the wage and personnel thing, which you're going to be able to do an explanation for us. And then on the Thorndike one, will Thorndike be there?
They will, yes.
Okay. 'Cause I think, I think both require a presentation.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just too complicated to, just to wing it, so. Okay, any other discussion on the warrant?
No,
Very well done. Okay, next up is alcohol license inspections, an annual event for all.
Yes, so you guys typically do your alcohol license inspections. Pam put together a nice document here with all the locations that need to be inspected, so you can go through and assign who would like to do each, and then she has a nice little sheet going over what you need to look for.
So, all right. No, preferences?
no, I want to thank you for bringing me to the John Bruno School of Alcohol Inspection. If you
Listen,
remember.
that was quality.
It was great. So, John gave us some tips of the trade here, so I don't have any,
It's a lot of fun.
I don't have any favorites here or there, so whatever you guys, however you want to split them up is fine with me.
All right, there's 10 of them. Anyone, Naja, anything you're interested in, not interested in?
I'll do most of them. I'm off all day, so
You want to do them all, you're welcome.
Sure, I think that'd be great, Chairman, Mr. Nazarella.
I'll do them all.
No,
Naja Nazarella is doing them all.
really?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Do a good job.
Nice.
I'm bringing in my inspectors.
You're going to be our alcohol licensing inspector.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
There'll be some quality stuff going on, you know?
If you get jammed up, let us know.
Yeah, I mean, I got till December 19th and December 14th on these ones. See, I read them.
Oh, yeah, actually, no, that one's wrong. I didn't change that date, my bad. Hey, listen,
Pam's wrong on that one.
that's
Did we just talk about salary? It was,
It's not going to be done by the end, it's been done by
yeah,
the
yeah.
year.
She just said she's babysitting us for.
I'm raising all three of you. Okay, so yeah, that's what you're gonna do. You got it.
Yeah, I'll do them all.
Okay, next up is
John's gonna
town
be sad.
flag policy. So this is something that I asked Cody to look into. We don't have a policy right now relating to
I got one too.
flags that will be flown on public property. And it becomes a controversial thing depending on flags. I mean, sometimes you think it's not that controversial. Most of the American flag's not usually controversial, although lately sometimes it has been. So what I was concerned with is, we had no policy whatsoever. And I asked Cody to come up with a draft. This is a draft. But it's more my proposal, I suppose, than anything. And basically, what I thought the thing to do was to limit our authorized flags to the American flag, the Massachusetts state flag, the town of Halifax flag, the elementary school flag, and military flags, as he puts here, for the purpose of veterans observance. I think it'd be like the MIA and POW, that kind of thing. And I think that, to me, that makes the most sense, keeps the town out of any sort of, keeps us from getting into any sort of arguments over whose flag should be up, when it should be up, and that kind of thing. And I just see it everywhere else, adding to discord in terms of our public discussion. So I would prefer that's all we have on the flagpole, but I'll leave it up to you guys if you have a different opinion or thought about it.
No, no, shoot.
So, what about flags when people are using the town green?
Well, if it's on our public, I mean, if they have a flag and they put it in the ground, because
I'm saying just for their day, if they're using the green.
if they have if I read this, what we're talking about is like the flagpole. So,
Oh, okay.
Official flag.
Okay.
so if you
No,
come in
yeah,
here and you have, farmer's market, for example, and you have, flags for that or whatever.
All right, we're just talking about strictly the flagpoles on town property.
That's how I
Okay.
intend it, yeah.
Yeah, no?
I get the idea of this, and it makes sense to me as to, I don't want to call it Pandora's box, but once you.
You did.
Once you
You
okay.
just did.
I'm sorry, I just did. But once it keeps it cut and dry, essentially. It makes it so that, these are the flags we have.
There's no
and,
gray area.
There's no gray, so.
And there's no, I mean, it doesn't put the Board of Selectmen, not necessarily us, could be any Board of Selectmen, into that position of having to choose, right? Like,
Sure.
well, suppose somebody wants to fly a Nazi flag, right? Well, we know we're gonna get controversy about that. Can we stop them? I'm not sure. If you let everybody else do it, that you can't let them do it, right?
Yeah.
So it seems to me that it's just not something it's not something I think the town of Halifax should be in the middle of. So you want to fly a flag in your own yard, go, good for you. That's fine.
Have at it.
Okay, so unless there's any discussion, I'll move that we accept this flag and signs on town property as our policy. And it's the draft of November 21st, 2023.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Next up is vacation carryover policy. I think we talked about this last year briefly, didn't we?
You did, you had requested it prior to the end of the year that I put a policy together, so I had it on my calendar.
It's not quite the end of the year yet, so you're right on schedule.
So this is, I think it comes a result, last year, we had a significant amount of vacation carryover requests. I think a lot of it was bundled up from COVID, but, we're really coming out of the pandemic, we're out of it, we're living with it. People get vacation time, we want them to use it. The policy for wage and personnel employees is already, it allows them great flexibility, and they can carry over anything they accrued in the prior year plus a week. So if you have someone who accrues 4 weeks a year, they can carry over 5 weeks, and that's still allowed. We're not changing the bylaw. This is just anything beyond that, or anything beyond allowed in a collective bargaining agreement. That basically, we're letting people know the board wants them to use their time, and they will not be just leniently approving this in the future. It is really just going to be looked at on a case-by-case basis, and only under extreme circumstances will it be approved.
So it does have a financial impact. People that retire, and if they've been building up, a week, and pretty soon we end up owing them a lot of money to cash them out. Also, I got to say, so my first round on the Board of Selectmen, Peg Fitzgerald was on the board with me for a good part of it, and this was a big thing to her. She said, we give you a vacation for a reason. It's because you need a break. You need to get away and use your vacation. So you have to use it. That was always her view, and I agree with her. I think it's there for a reason. Sometimes you can't use it all. I mean, that happens, but hopefully everybody takes it, and it gives us an ability to schedule things correctly. We can somebody cover it or whatever, and we don't end up with that giant problem at the end of someone's career where all of a sudden there's 6, 8, 10 weeks of vacation that we owe them, and we have to cash it out, and it costs us a lot of money. So,
Does it make sense, or does it muddy the waters if we spell out examples of exceptions, or is that?
I think if you look, I put illness, specific plans for utilization. We had an employee last year who requested to carry over an additional time because they were going on a 2.5-week trip. They already had it planned, it was booked. I think something like that is reasonable. They're planning, and they're also giving us a date of when they're going to use it.
Sure. It's not open-ended.
Beyond that, again, I think a case-by-case basis, it can be analyzed, but I don't think you want to get too specific because every case will have to be looked at individually.
Okay.
okay. Any discussions on the draft vacation carryover policy? So I'll move that we adopt this as a policy of the Board of Selectmen.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Okay, Monpont, what's this called? The Lake House wants to switch managers.
Did they ever switch the name?
I'm trying to see whose names here.
So we have,
It's the same guy, Jonathan Sapphire. He's the current manager, or he's the one who wants to be manager?
no, he's the one that he's looking to become the manager.
Okay. Okay. So just, maybe Pam knows this better than any of us. This is just for, this is the alcohol, this is not the alcohol license.
Not the alcohol, because we have to go through ABCC for that, and I'm going
Right.
to present that to you guys on the 5th of December.
Okay.
She gave me that paperwork, so this is going to be just for the common vic that we do the weekday and the Sunday entertainment.
And the entertainment stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right,
And then I'll give you guys the other ones in December.
okay.
And
Is
this is-
this same guy going to look to be the manager for?
So he's the owner, isn't he?
He's the owner.
Yeah.
They let the other,
Manager go.
Okay. All right, so any more discussion about that? Any, we have a motion to change the manager to Mr. Sapphire? Sapphire, is that right?
So moved,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay.
And I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
I moved it.
So you moved it, so-
I second.
Just so you get it right. Watch.
Thank you, sir.
I have to mess with you.
Okey-dokey. That
'Cause you're not
brings
gonna be
us
next to me
to
next time. It'll be
updates.
We may have to switch the seats. I might put some stuff on.
MBTA action plan, we had a great meeting with the consultant there, came into the zoning bylaw review committee meeting. He was very receptive to the feedback of the committee, and he is working on putting together some different scenarios to see if we can maybe come into compliance and also keep kind of everybody in town happy with what we're proposing. So it's very preliminary, but once we have some of that modeling done, we'll bring it back before the zoning bylaw review committee meeting. And, we hope to have that report by the board, to the Board of Selectmen sometime by the end of February.
Do you mind if I just give them a little
Yeah,
bit?
please.
So, we did have a long discussion with our consultant, who was provided by the state. And I was one very vocal against this MBTA zoning thing. I'm still not really think it's a good idea. However, speaking with a consultant, it looks like we may be able to come into compliance without really doing anything drastic. So what we realized was that we already have several areas of multifamily housing as it is, some of which are right next to the train station, Twin Lakes.
Twin Lakes.
condominiums. So he was going to look at that to see if we could just rezone that to reflect what it is, and that would count into our, into what we have to do. And then, there's other options, we could put it in the industrial park, I mean, that, we could certainly say that's gonna be an area, so there are different things that we can do, and at the end of that meeting, Jim and Frank were both there, they're both on the committee. At the end of the meeting, I was pretty happy with it, at least in terms of what our potential is. Again, I still think it's a horrible idea on the state's part, but if we can come into compliance without disrupting our town, that would be a good thing.
Not to jump too far ahead, but if we were able to incorporate Twin Lakes, how much of a requirement would that fulfill?
That's what he's
We're still
working on.
not there yet.
Yeah, that's what.
Okay, okay.
We have Twin Lakes, we have Leiden Lane, so
Yeah.
between the two of them, Twin Lakes must be close to 300 units.
The key is, though, it's not what's existing, it's what you zone for.
Sure.
So if you zoned, so let's say there's 200 units existing, you could zone for 400 units. You get credit for 400.
Gotcha.
It's whatever it's
They
zoned
don't have
for.
to exist, they just have to be zoned.
They just have to be zoned.
Yeah.
And there's actually more land around the outside of Twin Lakes that's kind of undeveloped, so if somebody wanted to put more condominiums in there, they could. And the same with Leiden Lane, is another one. The garden property is still a possibility for some of the zoning, although I'm not sure how much of that. But the consultant's working on all of that, but I was hopeful that it would be something that would not disrupt, which is what we're all concerned with.
No, that's good, that's encouraging, that's great.
Okay, Morse Brothers?
No new updates. We submitted the final permit that the board approved to the town clerk's office and have sent it off to the applicant. And no new updates for training for boards and committees. As far as my update, just a quick shout out. We have a few staff members today who put together a really nice Thanksgiving staff meeting lunch for all the employees in the town. Everyone was invited. Was really great. They did a really nice job, so just kudos to them. Taped a new episode of Cody's Corner today with Selectman Seelig over here.
I thought I was fantastic.
So,
Of course you did. That is so good.
so we did the town meeting warrant preview, so we went over the warrant like we had done for the Springtown meeting, so that video will be out shortly. I also had Thorndike Development in to go over some of the items that they're proposing. So if you get an opportunity, watch it. It hopefully will shed a little bit more light and provide some more detail to try to clear up any of those questions. We did get the compensation and classification plan, as you know, approved, and moving forward, that'll be on the warrant. And that is about it.
I'm gonna start calling you Hollywood.
That's it. Holidays in Halifax too, coming up.
Yes, December 9th, 4:30.
Yep.
So looking forward to that. A lot of hard work.
Some of the magic has already started, as you can see. So, it's gonna be fun.
This would be a great opportunity for us to use our new Center for Active Living, or Community Center, for our
Someday.
meetings, right?
That'd be great.
Room,
That's one of the points, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's one of the points, so. All right, nothing else to come before the board. I want to wish all my board members and the town of Halifax a very happy Thanksgiving. Nice time of year to kind of take a step back and just try to regroup for the year and see how far we've come. Hopefully, we've made a lot of progress, which we think we have this year, so.
Yeah, I hope everyone
Yeah,
has a
thankful.
great Thanksgiving.
Yeah, thankful to be on a great board in a great town.
All right, motion to adjourn,
So moved.
second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
All right.
You need me now?
Thank you all.
I want to stay for one.